everyone, I'm Mackayla. Welcome to the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast. We're going to jump right in with the two hardest questions of all. Who are you and what have you been up to recently?
So, my name is Grace Annabella Anderson. I am an actor, I'm a singer, writer, I'm a working model, and I am from Minneapolis, Minnesota originally, but I've been living in New York for about 5 years now since I graduated from NYU. And most recently, I have been working on new music and I've released three new singles over the course of the last couple months. The most recent just came out yesterday, actually, called Halfway.
Awesome, that's so exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
What does it feel like to finally put this music out?
It feels good. Honestly, it's been freeing in a way since, graduating from college, I went to school for drama. I went to NYU Tisch Drama, and it was a 4 year like conservatory style training program that
Mhm.
left very little time for anything else. I did manage to record my first two EPs, like kind of squeezed in between like a winter break or like over the summer,
Mhm.
but I didn't really have as much time to dedicate to music as I would have wanted to. So now since graduating, it's been nice to really get to challenge myself a little bit more, like explore new musical styles and really dive into recording more of what I want. So yeah, it's been nice to have the time and the flexibility to do a little bit more of that since graduating.
Yeah, definitely having more time is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you find that you prefer having more time versus having to squish in your writing?
I don't know. Honestly, I do. Sometimes I do miss the deadline aspect. In school, I also studied creative writing,
Hmm.
and I got my minor in that. And I will say sometimes it was nice having a deadline on, especially like with poetry and with things like that. It's hard because it's a balance of trying to be as free flowing and creative as you can while also, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you need to get a product done at a certain time. Like you want to be productive, you want to be able to have the material. So I think deadlines do help sometimes. But what's nice about not having them too, I've found now after school, it's been nice to just be able to I feel like things come much more organically, which
Hmm.
in my experience has been leading me to write things that are less, some things that are less even a product of my personal life, and they're more just explorations of like things I'm inspired about or things that come to me in the moment. And it's not like I'm pulling from my immediate life for inspiration, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So
Yeah.
when you find yourself writing a song, what does that process look like for you?
It really depends. I would say the song that I put out a couple months ago, Love Potion, that one was the outlier, I think, with all of them because usually I write songs out of if I'm dealing with an emotion that's too big for me to process any other way or an experience or something that I feel like I'm the type of person that I turn to music when I want to feel a type of like when I want to see myself in another person's pain or what they're going through. I feel
Hmm.
like a type of like a sense of kind of companionship in listening to someone else's story that they're going through a similar thing. So I like to write music usually if I'm like, okay, I can't find a song that's exactly what I'm feeling right now. Like I want to
Hmm.
write that. So that's usually what inspires it for me. But with some of my newer stuff that I've been working on, I've actually just been inspired by writing music that's a little bit more like I write poetry, where it's like excerpts. It feels almost like a collage. It's like pieces of things I observe in the city, it's feelings, it's sensations, it's exploring all of the senses, and it's kind of stitching words that sound good together with like different forms of alliteration or different metaphors that I find cool. And it's like I said, I'm like stitching all the pieces together into a collage, which that's also really fun too. But they feel like two kind of different ways of writing that I've been exploring both of them.
Hmm. Do you have one that you feel more drawn to?
I do think there's something a little more cathartic about the first, about
Hmm.
writing from a place of trying to articulate your emotion about an experience that you've lived through. I mean, like that will always be a little bit closer to my heart, I think, because I'll always remember, like what I was experiencing in the moment or the hurt or the confusion or the worry that I was trying to work through. So I'll always have more of I think, a personal connection to those songs, but I find all of it to be interesting and to be fulfilling.
Hmm. When you write a song that is so personal about something you've experienced, is it scary to then kind of put it out into the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be. To me, I feel like more I don't know. I think one of my more recent songs that I released last month called Take It Back was like I would call it the most personal song that I've ever written. It was 100% just almost stream of consciousness diary entry type
Hmm.
of song where it was very confessional, very honest. And I will say that putting that one out didn't actually feel as scary as I thought it would, or it didn't feel as vulnerable as I thought it would, because I felt like the process of writing the song, the process of working through that had allowed me to come to terms with those feelings, had allowed me to process them. And all of a sudden, like putting that out felt like I feel like once I put something out, I've already worked through it and it's
Hmm.
already over. Like I don't feel like I'm putting out music. And also, I mean, that is also it lends itself to the process of it takes a long time, to record
Yeah.
something, to get it mixed and mastered and like it's a long process overall. But usually by the time I put something out, because of the fact that I worked through it and put it into music, it feels like it's a closed chapter for me,
Hmm.
which makes it less daunting, I think, to have other people listen to it because it feels like it's a bit removed from where I currently stand.
That makes sense. You've moved on from that moment in time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And then you can be like, that's not what I'm feeling right now. I can forget about that.
Exactly. Yeah, and I mean, and sometimes it still is, but it's never going to be exactly that. It's like it's a snapshot of a moment. It almost feels kind of like I love the idea of thinking about creating when you're recording, when you're literally physically in the recording studio and you're recording music, to think like that is just a snapshot of the moment that you're in right
Hmm.
now, like the stage in life that you're in, what you're thinking about, what you're exploring, what you're inspired by, like that recording session is it snaps that, and it's like a crystallized moment in time, almost kind of like with theater, like when you're doing a live performance, like that's that night's performance, and you might be able to feel that again, or you might still feel the joy of it later, but it's always like just going to be that moment in time that it existed exactly as it was, which is cool.
Do you find that your music influences theater or that theater influences your music?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely got into writing and recording music because of growing up with my background in theater. I was singing from the time I could talk, and I loved reading, I loved singing, and so I kind of gravitated towards a way of storytelling that I could combine the two. So I did a lot of musical theater growing up, and I did like community theater, regional theater, did things at my high school, and I always knew I wanted to go to college and study drama. So when I went to school, I found that I kept being inspired by that. The aspect of theater that I love the most, I would say, is that the heart of storytelling that it has,
Hmm.
and the way that it brings audiences together and it broadens people's perspectives and allows them to really step into someone else's world. And at the heart of it, like that's what I want to do with my songwriting as well. So I find that, I mean, because of my inclination towards music, because I love to sing, because I love to write, like all of those things, I would say definitely moved me to start writing music. And I would say that also it's been interesting thinking about character work that I've done, playing different roles, kind of feeding into things that I write about. I love to immerse myself in a character when I work on it. And I think that that also helps me, broaden my horizons, broaden my perspectives, and I'm able to write about emotions and things that I've worked through in different characters, if that makes sense. It's
It
kind of,
does.
it's kind of a lot of layers, but yeah.
Do you have a favorite play that you've ever been in?
Oh, that's such a good question. I'm thinking there's been several that I've really loved. I was in a musical called Hello Again at NYU, directed by our studio head Kent Gash, and I would say that was my favorite show I've been in. It was just a great experience all around. It was such a beautiful show. The music was so well written. That was one of my favorites. There was also another show I did at NYU called Nine, the musical Nine. That was directed by Amy Marie Siddell, and that was really fun. A lot of different Those two roles were very different. The first was like much more kind of commanding, and she had like this crazy character arc throughout her story. And the second role, the first was the role was the nurse, and the second one was I played Claudia in Nine. And Claudia was more of a typical ingenue soprano role, and that was they were fun for completely different reasons. They were two very different women dealing with two very different things,
Hmm.
very different emotional love lives, etc. But it was great getting to explore. I love just any show that really lets me explore somebody that doesn't feel close to me. I love playing characters that feel a little bit far from me or that feel a little out of reach. I think that's the most exciting work to do.
Do you have a play that you want to be in or something that you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot. There's honestly there's so many that I definitely want to do. I love I mean there's I love doing Shakespeare. I love performing classical theater. I mean like I love there's so many different I mean I love As You Like It. I love Taming of the Shrew. Those are some shows that I would hope to be in one day. In terms of musicals, my absolute like dream musical to be in is Phantom of the Opera or Les Miserables. Those are two like I've loved those ever since I was a little girl. Grew up on those musical soundtracks, cast recordings. Yeah.
Do you have a
There's
favorite? Have you seen them live?
I have seen both of those live. Yes. Yeah. Yeah,
That's it. Yeah.
I'm really grateful to have grown up also in growing up in Minneapolis. There was such a great, vibrant theater scene, which I really grew to appreciate the more and more as I got older. Because I kind of just took it for granted when I was young. But my parents took me to see a lot of theater, a lot of great, yeah, great regional shows from the Guthrie to Theater La Tida. So growing up there definitely like also lent itself to my affinity for live theater and storytelling.
That's helpful to grow up in that environment.
Yeah, yeah, it was great.
What was the biggest difference moving from there to New York?
I mean, it's obviously very it's obviously very different. I did live like very close to the city, close in the city in Minneapolis, so it wasn't like as big of a shock. I think the biggest reason it didn't feel like a crazy transition for me was because I grew up with a lot of family out in New York and on the East Coast, so I
Hmm.
would come back to visit the city a lot and like take trips here, so I was familiar with it. But I would say it was also just a strange time because I came to the city during the pandemic. I
Oh.
started college in 2020.
Hmm.
So that was weird because we were all like confined in our dorms, you know, and doing
Yeah.
like what we're doing right now. Just everything was on Zoom, everything was remote. So it felt like the city felt very subdued and very quiet and
Hmm.
not as lively as it usually did. So honestly, I feel like the chaos of everything that was going on in 2020 made moving to New York feel in a strange way more it made it feel easier. It made it feel like less of a big deal almost because
Hmm.
everything else was so chaotic. But then I mean in the next coming years I really fell in love with the city. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. I think that it's been just incredible getting to feel like a part of such a deeply creative, unique environment where you meet so many people that are dedicated to what they do and that just have such a passion for the field that they're in. You know, I've met so many creative and talented individuals here that inspire me so much. And so I think the energy of the city and the way that it keeps you constantly productive is what's addictive about it for me.
That's awesome. You found your place.
Yeah, yeah. I feel really blessed to live here.
Yeah. I feel like New York is very cool, but it's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah, I think it can be I think in my experience, even with some of my friends, like it's like you kind of either love it or hate it, but there's not really a middle ground of like, oh, like I could live here, maybe like I don't know. After a certain amount of time that you live here, you kind of understand if you want to stay here or not, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a special, like a certain kind of person to thrive in that kind of environment.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. That makes sense.
That's why we have suburbs and, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know, I feel like New York is also a really fun place to be when you're, you know, in your 20s and in your 30s, because there's just, I mean, there's so much to do I feel like when you're, especially in my generation, I feel like there's kind of a push to do everything or experience so
Yep.
many different things and throw yourself into a variety of creative outlets and career paths and just explore what there almost I think because of social media too, I think that is adding to the kind of almost the illusion that you can do a million things at once and you
Yep.
can to an extent, but I think living in this like not I don't know, living in the city feels like it makes it more in my experience it makes it feel more tangible to
Hmm.
do to spin a lot of plates at one time.
Yeah. You have to, also not do that at times too and take a moment for yourself, which
Yeah.
is very hard.
Yeah, definitely. No, that is so, and it is so hard because I feel like I said, I think we're always surrounded by so much so much representation of you have to do it all, you have to be doing
Hmm.
it all, you have to be spinning so many plates, but it is really important to take that time for yourself, which I think is also, even with me writing music and making music, it feels, I don't like it to get to the point where it feels like, I don't know, even if I'm writing something and I feel like I'm pushing myself too far, or I'm at the point where it feels tedious to me or something, I try to take a step back, or I try
Hmm.
to go back to something else that I feel like is more joyful, because at the end of the day, it does feel like almost an act of self-care for me to write, which is a beautiful thing. And it's something that I want to hold on to. And I hope to continue to feel close to that essence as I continue to write music.
Yeah, I hope for that for you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
It's good to have something that is helpful to your career, but also feels low stress.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And not too many industries have that.
Yeah, it's true. It's one of the, I feel like that is a benefit to being in a creative industry, is that you can tap into that, to the joy of like doing something that you love to do. I mean, it's not, I don't think it's realistic for it to always feel like that. I
No.
don't think it will always feel joyful, but in the moments when it can, it's good to hold on to that.
Yeah, it's good to remember that it can be good to do it, but also, stressful at times too, as anything is.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, there's always that balance, that duality.
Hmm. Before I ask the last question, is there anything else you want to mention or talk about today?
I I just want to maybe talk a little bit about the new music that I've been releasing recently. I came out with my first EP was called 19, and I released that in 2021, and my second was called Bandages, and that came out in 2023. I recently recorded a new batch of music that I've started to release. I'm building towards the announcement of a project coming soon. You heard it here on this podcast first, which I'm super excited about in the coming months. But as of right now, I think that the most exciting thing for me with this new music is it feels like a departure and a maturation from everything else that I've recorded, which is, I don't know, I'm just I'm very excited about all that's to come. And I think that it's been really beneficial for me to explore new kind of like different styles, different influences, different musical influences than I have in the past. Yeah, so I've been working a lot on that, and there will be a lot more coming down the road, which is very exciting.
That is super exciting. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to hear it too. I hope you love it.
So, our last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
I love this question. Um, are you looking for like a specific thing? Like
I
a
leave
specific
it
song?
very open-ended because,
Okay.
it's your life.
I love that. I feel like the soundtrack of my life it would probably be an amalgamation of some things. It would probably be background noise of New York City, like the sirens and the cars and the people and all of that. It would be a little bit of one of my favorite artists, Lana Del Rey. I love her instrumentals. So it would be some like sweeping Lana Del Rey violin instrumentals, city noise background, and probably a little bit of one of my songs, honestly, probably a little bit of my song, probably Love Potion feels very like the soundtrack of my life right now. My answer might change later, but it'd be probably be those three things stitched together.
I love it. I feel like everyone's is constantly changing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Different seasons, different eras have different soundtracks. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, for all our listeners who want to stay updated on you, hear that new project when it comes out, where can they find you?
They can find me I'm on all streaming platforms under my full name, Grace Annabella Anderson, and on Instagram under that same name, Linktree under that same name. Yeah, just under my full name, everything's out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. It was great talking to you.
Of course, have a nice rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.